Ikigai, Part 6. Lessons from Japan's centenarians, traditions and proverbs of happiness and longevity. To get to Ojimi, we had to fly nearly 3 hours from Tokyo to Naha, the capital of Okinawa. Several months earlier, we had contacted the town council of a place known as the Village of Longevity to explain the purpose of our trip and our intention to interview the oldest members of the community. After numerous conversations, we finally got the help we were looking for and were able to rent a house just outside the town. 1 year after starting this project, we found ourselves on the doorsteps of some of the longest living people in the world. We realized that right away that time seems to have stopped there, as though the entire town were living in an endless here and now. Arriving in Ojimi, after 2 hours of the road from Naha, we are finally able to stop worrying about the traffic. To our left are the sea and an empty stretch of beach. To our right are the mountainous jungles of Okinawa's Yanbaru forest. Once Route 58 passes Nagu, where Orion, beer, and the pride of Okinawa is made. It skirts the coasts until it reaches Ojimi. Every now and then, a few little houses and stores crop up in the narrow stretch of land between the road and the base of the mountain. We pass small clusters of houses scattered here and there as we enter the municipality of Ojimi, but the town doesn't really seem to have a center. Our GPS finally guides us to our destination, the Center for the Support and Promotion of Well-being, housed in an unattractive cinder block building right off the highway. We go in through the back door, where a man named Taira is waiting for us. Besides him is a petite, cheerful woman who introduced herself as Yuki. 2 other women immediately get up from desks and shows us the conference room. They say they serve us a cup of green tea and few shikuwasa, a small citrus fruit that packs a big nutritional punch, as we see later on. Taira sits down across from us in his formal suit and opens up a large planner and 3-ring binder. Yuki sits next to him. The binder contains a list of all the town's residents, organized by age and club, or MOA. Taira points out that these groups of people who help one another are characteristics of the Ojimi. The MOA are organized around any concrete objective. They function more like a family. Taira also tells us that volunteer work rather than money drives much of what happens in Ojimi. Everyone offers to pitch in, and the local government takes care of assigning tasks. This way, everyone can be careful and useful and feel like a part of the community. Ojimi is the penultimate town before Cape Hedo, the northernmost point of the largest island in the archipelago. From the top of one of the Ojimi's mountains, we are able to look down over the whole town. Almost everything is green of the Yanbaru jungle, making us wonder where the nearly 3,200 residents are hiding. We can see a few houses, but they're scattered in little clusters near the sea or in small valleys accessible by the side roads. Communal life. We are invited to eat in one of Ojimi's few restaurants, but when we arrive, the table of 3 are already reserved. Don't worry, we'll go to Churaumi instead. It never fills up. Yes, Yuki walking back to her car. She's still driving at the age 88 and takes great pride in that. Her co-pilot is 99 and has also decided to spend the day with us. We have to drive fast to keep up with them on the highway that is sometimes more dirt than asphalt. Finally reaching the other end of the jungle, we can at last sit down and eat. I don't really go to restaurants, Yuki says as we take our seats. Almost everything I eat comes from my vegetable gardens, and I buy my fish from Tanaka, who's been a friend forever. The restaurant is right by the sea and seems like something from planet Tatooine from Star Wars. The menu boasts in large letters that it serves slow food prepared with organic vegetables grown in the town. But really, Yuki continues, food is least important thing. She is extroverted and rather pretty. She likes to talk about her role as the director of several associations run by the local government. Food won't help you live longer, she says, bringing to her lips a bite of diminutive confection that followed our meal. The secret is smiling and having good time. There are no bars and only a few restaurants in Ojimi, but those who live there enjoy a rich social life that revolves around community centers. The town is divided into 17 neighborhoods, and each of them has a president and several people in charge of things like culture, festivals, social activities, and longevity. Residents pay close attention to this last category. We are invited to the community center of one of 17 neighborhoods. It is an old building right next to one of the mountains of Yanbaru jungle, home to Bunagaya, the town's iconic sprites. The Bunagaya spirits of the Yanbaru jungle. Bunagaya are magical creatures that inhabit the Yanbaru jungle near Ojimi and its surrounding towns. They manifest as children with long red hair and like to hide in the jungle's Gajumaru banyan trees and go fishing on the beach. Many of Okinawa's story and fables are about Bunagaya sprites. They are mischievous, playful, and unpredictable. Local says that the Bunagaya love the mountains, rivers, seas, trees, birds, winds, and animals, and if you want to befriend them, you have to show respect for nature. A birthday party. When we arrive at the neighborhood's community center, we are greeted by a group of about 20 people who proudly proclaim the youngest among us is 83. We conduct our interviews at a large table while drinking green tea. When we finish, we are brought to an event space where we celebrate the birthday of 3 members of the group, one woman turning 99, another 94, and one young man has just reached 89. We sing a few songs popular in the village and finish up with happy birthday in English. The woman turning 99 blows out the candles and thanks everyone for coming to the party. We eat home-made shikowasa cake and end up dancing and celebrating as though it were the birthday of 20-something. It's the first party, but not the last, that we'll attend during our week in the village. We'll also go to karaoke with a group of seniors who sing better than we do and attend a traditional festival with local bands, dancers, and food stands at the foot of the mountain. Celebrate each day together. Celebrations seems to be an essential part of life in Ojimi. We are invited to watch a game of gate ball, one of the most popular sports among Okinawa's older residents. It involves hitting a ball with a mallet-like stick. It is a slow impact sport that can be played anywhere and is good excuse to move around and have fun as a group. The residents hold local competitions and there is no age limit for participants. We participate in the weekly game and lose to a woman who recently turned 104. Everyone cheers and the defeated look on our faces elicits laughter. In addition to playing and celebrating as a community, spirituality is also essential to the happiness of village's residents. The gods of Okinawa. The main religion in Okinawa is known as Ryukyu Shinto. Ryukyu is the original name of the Okinawa archipelago, and Shinto means the path of the gods. Ryukyu Shinto combines elements of Chinese Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, and Shintoism with shamanistic and animistic elements. According to this ancient faith, the world is populated by infinite number of spirits divided into several types. Spirits of home, of the forests, of the trees, of the mountains. It is important to appease these spirits through rituals and festivals and by consecrating sacred grounds. Okinawa is full of sacred jungles and forests where many of the 2 main kinds of temples are found, the Utaki and Uganju. We visited Uganju, a small open-air temple adorned with incense and coins next to the waterfalls of Ujimi. The Utaki is a collection of stones where people go to pray and where supposedly spirits gather. In Okinawa's religious practice, women are considered spiritually superior to men, whereas the opposite is true for Shintoism in the rest of Japan. Yuta are women who are chosen as mediums by their communities to make contact with the spirits, relying through traditional rites. Ancestors' worship is another important feature of spiritual practice in Okinawa and in Japan in general. The home of each generation's firstborn usually contains a Batsudan and small altar used to pray for and make offerings to the family ancestors. Mabui, every person has an essence or Mabui. This Mabui is our spirit and our source of life force. This is immortal and makes us who we are. Sometimes the Madui of someone who has died is trapped in the body of living person. This situation requires a separation ritual to free the Madui of the deceased. It often happens when a person dies suddenly, especially at a young age, and his or her Madui does not want to move on the realm of the dead. Madui can also be passed from one person to another by physical contact. A grandmother who leaves her granddaughter a ring transfer a part of her Madui to her. Photographs can also be a medium of passing Madui among people. The older, the stronger. Looking back, our days in Okinawa were intense but relaxed, sort of like the lifestyle of the locals, who always seemed to be busy with important tasks, but who, upon closer inspection, did everything with a sense of calm. They are always pursuing their ikigai, but they were never in rush. Not only did they seem to be happily busy, but we also noticed that they followed other principles of happiness that Washington Burnham stated 200 years ago. The grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. Our last days, we went to buy gifts at small market at the edge of the town. The only thing sold there are local vegetables, green tea, and shikuvasa juice, along with bottles of water from a spring hidden in the Yanbaru forests, bearing labels that reads longevity waters. We bought ourselves some of this longevity waters and drank it in the parking lot, looking out over the sea and hoping that the little bottles that promised a magic elixir would bring us health and long life, and would help us find our own ikigai. Then we took a photo with the statue of Bunagaya and walked up to it one last time to read the inscription. A declaration from the town where people live longest. At 80, I'm still a child. When I come to see you at 90, send me away to wait until I'm 100. The older, the stronger. Let us not depend too much on our children as we age. If you seek long life and health, you are welcome in our village, where you will be blessed by nature, and together we will discover the secret to longevity. The interviews. Over the course of a week, we conducted a total of 100 interviews, asking the eldest members of the community about their life philosophy, their ikigai, and the secrets to longevity. We filmed these conversations with 2 cameras for use in little documentary, and chose a few especially meaningful and inspiring statements to conclude in this section of the book. Number 1. Don't worry. Number 2. Cultivate good habits. Number 3. Nurture your friendship every day. Number 4. Live an unhurried life. And number 5. Be optimistic. The keys to Ojimi lifestyle. 100% of the people we interviewed keep a vegetable garden, and most of them also have fields of tea, mangoes, shikuvasa, and so on. All belong to some of the neighborhood associations where they feel cared for as though by family. They celebrate all the time, even little things. Music, song, and dance are essential parts of daily life. They have an important purpose in life on several. They have an ikigai, but they don't take it so seriously. They are relaxed and enjoy all that they do. They are very proud of their tradition and local culture. They are passionate about everything they do, however insignificant it might seem. Locals have a strong sense of yumaru, recognizing the connection between people. They help each other with everything from work in the fields to building houses and municipal projects. Our friend Miyagi, who ate dinner with us on the last night in town, told us that he was building a new home with the help of all his friends, and that we could stay there the next time we were in Ojimi. They are always busy, but they occupy themselves with tasks that allow them to relax. We didn't see a single old grandpa sitting on the bench doing nothing. They're always coming and going to sing karaoke, visit with neighbors, or play a game of gate ball.